Hello fellow space engineers, this is Marcelo from ACFM Gaming, and today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about two subjects that I like, and they basically consume most of my time in this game. And the first one is the evolution of a design over time, especially over the updates, and the other is faction building and faction creation. So I'm going to try to tell you a visual story with these designs that I have here, and most of these are for or were designed for the drone Conquest mod. But let's begin. I first became interested in drones as soon as the whole remote control block was released, and I figured, well, I have this vehicle bay in my destroyer, my main ship, the Calypso. So let's build something that fits in, something that is cheap to produce, and I can house 6 of them in the Calypso, and it would have, let's say considerable firepower, vanilla weapons. So I decided to make this, and let's say the criteria that I chose was to lose any pretensions of any kind of looks or an atmospheric craft. So I decided to go with this tear-shaped, almost fully mirrored in every direction, so full symmetry, with thrusters, equal thrust in every direction, because I was going to move around space and all that. So, and I call this thing the mini squid, because it looks kind of like a squid, and it's tiny. And I wanted to use this thing to protect my ship in my co-op survival that I was doing, protected against the invaders mod that I just installed in my session, and it was giving me a hard time. Suffice it to say, this thing was a total disaster, but it was a good experiment when it comes to concentrated firepower. So I took that idea, and by that time we were I was actually attending the Fleet Breakers events organized by Craig Perico, and we were having a lot of fun and testing ideas and discovering how the game mechanics work. So that's when I realized that the weakness of a tiny design is related to how rockets especially completely take them out with splash damage. So I say, okay, let's take that into account and design a fighter, because drones have like a lot of issues, like the losing connection out of because it got out of range and all that, and not being able to look around. So I went to a manned fighter that would place the cockpit all the way to the back to prevent missile hits, and would concentrate the firepower, but at the same time at least split it so a single hit doesn't take out all the guns, and have also the rockets really close, so you can, even if you want, you can group them and activate them and set it to auto fire, and you have a high alpha strike. And you want to protect the camera too. So also there's a lot of robustness built into this. It has, let me show you, interior reactors and batteries placed around. The original design was all small reactors because it was built as a as a competitive design. It wasn't meant to be produced in survival or any of that. So it was this sausage design that placed all the components inside and used some components as armor to protect the core elements. And I named this thing the bullcat because I named all my fighters as cats, after cats, and this one is like really beefy, so that's why. Then in one of those events I met Elton Cersei, who was he wanted us to show us his mod. We were all intrigued about it, and a few of us followed him, and I was blown away. Let's say the overall aspect of the mod, like having this AI entity that escalates as the player advances and sends you its drones and harass you depending on what you're doing. And the closer that you get to the mothership, the more enemies you face. It was like rediscovering the game. It was a whole new game. because at the time, space engineers didn't have pirates or anything like that. So I said, well, I'll help you. We'll make you some drones. So I came up with this idea, which is basically taking this concept of the bullcat and turning it into a, let's say, self-sufficient drone that is, again, like with the mini squid, loses every pretension of being an atmospheric craft or looking like a fighter. For example, those wings. And I went for, let's say, full efficiency and durability in this design. How it's shielded with the armor, how it has heavy armor on the nose, and especially all of the let's say the brains are located on the back. Let me quickly show you. I know this video has a lot of talking in it, but I just want to give you some insights on maybe how to improve your designs based on the experience that I have collected over my lengthy hours playing this game. So as you can see here, timer, remote control, programmable block, gyroscopes especially, and even a projector are built in on the back. The original design of these had a built-in warhead, kind of like a self-destruction mechanism if all of the front was destroyed, and it would actually clean out the drone completely. It was a built-in trash removal that actually worked. So, of course, this has been upgraded with those vanilla turrets. But in essence, the design was the same. Now, from this, I spawned this entire faction that you see there. I'll talk about that in a second. I have recently done the same that I did with these two designs for RDev's Fleet Command. I took my scaled-down bullcat, the Ocelot, and turned it into a drone. And this is the cat's paw, because Sokonan and I figured out that if this is a cat, and I'm just gonna make something that it's just the weapons package, so it's just gonna be, the claws. So it's a cat's paw, just the paw, nothing else. As you can see here, it's basically a nose of an ocelot with a thruster package. The idea behind this thing is that it's the same cost as a torpedo, but you may get more bang out of your buck because it's going to be flying around, it's going to be evading, and it's going to be applying some damage on its own, and it actually eventually crashes into the enemy when it gets to damage, especially because the retro thrusters are located here. That was not as intentional, but I mean, if that's a built-in mechanic, that if eventually you can find a more automated way of doing that, that would be ideal. But anyway, so you get like the most out of it before it gets destroyed or before it crashes into an enemy. Either way, it's a net gain because this thing is cheap. So, as I was saying, then from this design I took the concept, the core ideas, and built out this faction. Now, intentionally, I wanted to create something that was efficient in a 3D environment, so it would have to be symmetrical. It would have to have decoys in every direction, because you're not flying it; it's flying itself. So you want to give the AI all the help it can get, and it ended up looking really organic. Then I said, well, and this is something that I want to link with the current state of the AI in Space Engineers. The main antagonist that has ships are the space pirates, and all they have is drones. So you don't see, the pirate captain, trying to get some ransom out of you when he kidnaps you or whatever. So to me, it made more sense to have a faction that was, from its lore and from its origins, designed as an AI. And I figure if it's an AI, it's going to be logical and it's going to be operating mostly in space. So you have to do away with any conventions or like preconceived notions that you have about what is a fighter, what is a cruiser, destroyer, whatever. So I want to make them look as bugs, because bugs are easy to turn into an enemy, and they are also very adaptable as animals. So I decided, and I went with this caste system, with this dimorphic caste system, as you see in insects, beginning with the swarmer, which is the basic fighter. It's, as you can see, has almost all the same weapons as the bullcat, minus the other rocket launcher because it needs a docking point. And then I moved on and have like different variations, and this is supposed to be, this is the Stinger. Call it a Stinger because it was supposed to sting, and now I gave it this Gatling turret that looks like a Scorpion Stinger somehow. But and the idea behind this, they all share the same thruster package, the same power plant. The weapons vary, so this was meant to be able to fully chase you even if it's not facing directly at you because it has a Gatling turret, and cause a lot of damage with the Gatlings when it finally managed to lead on you and get a beat on you. So it's more like a dogfighter. And this is, I originally called it Praetorian, then I changed it to Garter because it's more like a like a guardian drone. It's not an attack drone, not a bomber. It's maybe you could use it like that, but anyway, it's meant to be close to the larger ones and have, let's say, an increasing alpha strike capacity with all those rockets. And this is the fighter caste. Then I moved on to the, let's say, I don't know, let's call it a frigate caste because this one behaves like frigates. Now, I designed this torpedo to work as an exploit for the Drone Conquest mod. It was a large grid torpedo because, you know, back during those, you know, that era of space engineers, a large grid torpedo was devastating, and right now is the opposite. A large grid torpedo does more damage. But anyway, I'd say, okay, I'm gonna make this large torpedo thing, and I'm gonna remove the retros because I discovered that when you remove the retros on the drones that Elton programmed, they would crash into the enemy ship. He then added a built-in collision evasion, so my idea was scrapped. And I recently revived this, and you may recognize it from my previous videos. This is the one that got eaten by an invader fighter, but it got this makeover to make it look more into a bug. So this is more like the Recon. Imagine like I think the Incisor in the vanilla game, something that does, you know, that fills in that role. And the idea with this caste, this is the offensive caste, or the frigate caste. I wanted to create a single entity, and the concept that I have behind was I wanted to be like different stages in the lifespan of an animal, especially animals that begin, you know, that metamorphosize. So this has more like a tadpole thing going on, like a, I don't know, larva stage, whatever. It doesn't have all the limbs, it has that tiny tail thing. And then you get into a juvenile, which resembles the adult, but it still has some growing to do. It has, like, let's say, like fewer fangs or fewer, you know, claws or whatever offensive capabilities you want to give it. But you see like the extremities beginning to grow. And then, oops, yeah, the big one, the full-grown adult. It has all of the offensive capacity, the full-on mandibles, if you want to call it like that. And I wanted this thing to be resilient, and so I gave this the rocket turrets way back, so those will be the last to be taken out. So even after like severely damaged, this thing would still be dangerous. And it has, you know, the full-grown limbs, and even some like vestigial ones, small ones there, kind of like a, you know, a detail, stretching the limits of these blocks, which are fairly, you know, polygonal, into making them look organic. It was a hell of a fun time to have. And then we move to the last caste, which I guess, I don't know, you can call it royalty or something like that. This is the defensive one. Oh, the previous one is called this one is called Bosser, because, you know, bosses around, and this is the Tuskier because it has like those tusks. And this is Caparasser. I was kind of like playing with words there, combining them differently. So is supposed to be the caparaz of the Hive fleet, the drone fleet, and is designed to be mostly defensive, to stay close to the mothership. And if you look at the layout of the weapons, they can all fire forwards, and it has some that can fire backwards, like this Gatling there. But also these two missile turrets are way back, so they don't get taken out, immediately. And if you want to flank it, you still have full coverage from missile fire. There's missile fire all around. So it's mostly a defensive platform. And it has, an amazing alpha strike with that, those rockets. Though they've been nerfed, but still, we have a lot of them. So, let's say the idea behind this entire faction is also built on not giving the players, a lot of free resources. So that's why you're gonna see a bunch of small thrusters instead of the large ones, and you're not gonna see reactors up to this guy here. This is the first one that has reactors. And okay, well, the small ones, the fighters have reactors, but those get taken out really fast, so it's not like you're gonna salvage them. But with this one that you can potentially salvage, you're gonna have to, fight harder. And still you're not gonna get a bunch. It has mostly batteries and a few small reactors, no large reactors. It does have 2 large thrusters and 1 FTL drive. And I figure that's a price. And overall, this thing has fewer resources than an Argent Tabis, and it's harder to beat, so I think it's balanced. And now, by that time, this was the last drone that I released, the last drone that Elton used in his mod. And you know what happens with many mods. The author may lose interest. There's like the continuous breaking of the mods by all the changes and all the updates. So it's hard to keep up. It's hard to have like that same motivation when you're facing that, and I guess there's no one to blame there. I mean, the game has to advance, and people have to take care of their lives, so I am releasing this now as it is because I want to explore many possibilities. Maybe later I can actually turn this into pirate drones and release my own mod, if time permits. This was meant to be the last, the mothership, the one that spawned in the center, in the origin of the map, and it would remain roaming there and moving from asteroid to asteroid, enlarging its fleet, hunting for any player that would get close. That was the whole mechanic of the mod. I have yet to finish her, but this is the big prize. This is something that you would have to fight an entire hive to get to and try to capture. So it does have, the full thing: large thrusters, 2 FTLs, large reactors. It was originally designed to be able to 3D print the small ones, but that's not needed, so you can just make them spawn. So I just left the hangars as a telltale of what she does, which is birthing the smaller ones. Oops. Keep banging into things. And last but not least, right at the end of that whole period when planets got released, and I wanted to have something that was agile and was gonna be able to fly on moons at least. So this has a code name. It's called the Red Lion. It's a reference to an Irish sci-fi show, but anyway, I may finish it and I will try it out to see if it flies on moons, but still needs its AI and all that. So that's it. Just wanted to share with you those 2 things that I like about this game. And especially faction building aspect, like how to keep something within a canon, how to make it consistent, which is to me, at least in my opinion, the most important thing in any work of science fiction. Have different elements that make sense when put it against each other or when they are in conjunction. So I hope you enjoyed this, and take care and keep